Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Anisha, and today I'm starting a 24-hour readathon. What I'm gonna do is mood read for 24 hours because then at least I can kind of intuitively either read and put down and kind of change up what I'm reading throughout. But we'll see. I'm also not gonna do it 24 hours straight because me and sleep are like this. And unfortunately, I can't just go without it. So I'll probably break it up within 2 days, ideally. And yeah, we'll see. It's literally like 1 p.m. right now. It is something like that. And so I don't know how that's really gonna go, but we're gonna try our best. Might that slightly enhance the chaos of this video? Maybe a little bit, but I'm gonna try my best to kind of keep it flowing and going. But yeah. So the first book I want to read is Pride and Prejudice. So one of my goals for this year was to read at least one classic, and the year is almost over. We have a month and a half left, so thought it would be time to check this off. And I'm about 100 pages through, and I was originally going to do a whole reading vlog for this, but then I remembered I'm not really like a literature girly, and so I don't really have a lot of thoughts or intelligent thoughts about this book. So I thought it'd be fun to just more read this in a bit of a lighter spirit and not so much pressure on having and forming these intellectual thoughts about Pride and Prejudice, because I'm sure there are very deep themes, and Jane Austen is the writer girly, or one of the writer girlies, for a reason. But I think that when I'm reading this, while it is very chronically readable, I do find that I fly through this writing really, really fast. I also find that I do have to look up words a lot, or look up the word in the context of the sentence. Because sometimes words are used not in the same way as we would today, which makes sense. Obviously, it's a different time. Language is always evolving, so makes sense. But yeah, so me and Google are just kind of, writing this book out. But I do find it, it's very good. And the drama, again, I'm 100 pages in, so it's so interesting to see. It feels almost like an alternative take to modern romance, where there's a lot of tropes that you see now in this book, and I just find it so interesting for some reason, because I'm just wow, the things that we read about in romance books today are not really novel concepts. They've been around since whenever this book was written, in the 1800s, 1700s, something like that, because Jane Austen was apparently alive from 1775 to 1817. So in that range. It's also kind of interesting that she wrote this book when she was 21 or 22, and I was like, that's so amazing. What a girl boss. I love how I'm describing all these really basic things, but I'm sorry, I never had to read this in school. So I'm discovering all of this right now at the age of 24. So yeah, I'm gonna stop yapping. And if I end up finishing this book in the 24 hours and move on to another one, I will make that book spoiler free, because I'm probably gonna read something that's more modern. But this, I'm obviously gonna talk about the drama a little bit in spoilers, because let's be honest here, I'm only on my first read gonna understand probably 50 to 70% of what's actually happening. And maybe if I'm down the line reading it again, I'll understand more, hopefully. But yeah, so I think for that reason, I will kind of spoil it, because I need to talk about what's happening. And so, in that vein, because the first 100 pages, so I mentioned some tropes that are in modern day, and they're in this book, and sorry, I got too excited there. We're getting a love triangle, I think. I don't know. It's really it's, I don't know, I just love the drama because we have Mr. Wickham and we have Mr. Darcy, obviously, and they are just, I don't know why I said obviously, that's not obvious, but we have them both kind of trying to make moves on Elizabeth, right? And it's like they're both bad talking each other, and like, because they're like enemies, or like they just, something happened and they like ended up having a dispute and they don't talk to each other anymore. I don't know. I'm eating it up because when Wickham and Elizabeth are like talking, I'm just kind of like, y'all have some good chemistry. Like, I don't know. But then I also just see Mr. Darcy and I'm just like, should I stop? I don't know. Mr. Darcy, do I just say Darcy? I just see Darcy and it's just like, he's just such a shy boy. And he's trying his best. And then him and Elizabeth just had their first dance. And I'm just like, because he's just like, he's just like, I don't even know how to explain it, but he's just so cute. Like, he's just saying things, and he's so conscious of how Elizabeth perceives him. And it's just, he's just like, he's just trying to be like, that's, the way you perceive me is not like how I am, but he's just too like, I don't want to say stoic, but he's just too like emotionally like removed or like shy to like really try and like actively change her perception of him right now, or I'm assuming right now. And so I don't know, but she's still very much like, Lizzie is still very much like, oh, I am on Team Wickham right now, but I know that changes because obviously she ends up with Darcy by the end. And I can't wait. We're going good. We're going so good. Anyways, this has been the longest intro of, I'm sure, your life. So I'm gonna actually just get to reading now. And we'll see how far we get today. You know what I think is what I think is really great about this is that, about this writing in specific, is that even if the like words are not like necessarily like how I would think, obviously, I don't speak in old English. It's very easy to understand like the feeling that's behind words, and like when characters are talking, it's very easy to understand how they're feeling when they're saying them. And that also is kind of obviously giving us as a reader context and helping us understand the book and the story and the characters. And I'm saying this because, so Mr. Collins just proposed to Elizabeth and he's going off on this giant like monologue. And I was just like laughing because, like, I did this off camera, but I was just laughing because like, why is this man so awkward? And then even like Elizabeth is laughing and then I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. We're just gotta giggle gaggle because this man is so awkward. And then I don't know if this is actually like something that someone would say or is just because he's coming off as butthurt, but the fact that he's like, you know, you're never gonna probably get a better marriage offer if you ever even get one. And then he's like, he's just basically saying like, you have no money. And so like, no one would ever want to marry you. And like, I'm aghast. But like, maybe that really was something that they talked about like back in ye old times. Cause like, I'm sure it did matter. But that's just so like, dang, you want to marry this woman and you're going to tell her that she's poor. That's a little awkward. I don't know. And then he's like, I'm just going to ask again. And then I'm going to ask your parents. And that's kind of crazy. So I only got about 2 hours into the readathon yesterday because, you know, life happens. Obviously I'm not gonna read the full 22 hours today to make up for it. I don't even think there's 22 hours left in the day for me to do that. So, surprise, surprise, we're not doing it over 2 days. I guess we'll do it over 3 days. But yeah, let's just see how far we get today. I am currently 22 hours and 36 minutes into the readathon. So, yeah, So yeah, let's just start her off. It's almost 10 o'clock. I really am not like being very punctual with this readathon. I'm just kind of turning it on and being like, oh, guess we'll start now. Guys, yesterday I finished volume 1 of this book, and I realized there's 3 volumes, so like that's kind of fun. But also like, wow, Mr. Collins sure does move on fast. Like, but also good for Charlotte, honestly, because, you know, it's the olden times. Like, a girl's gotta do what she gotta do, I fear. Okay, guys. So right now I'm a little more than 50% through, and I am still left with 18 hours and 52 minutes, but I thought I would do a little book update. So right now Elizabeth is visiting with Charlotte because she's married Mr. Collins, and you know, they're just there to kind of she's just kind of there to see how Charlotte's kind of acclimatizing to life and making sure she's okay. And so the kind of like sponsor of Mr. Collins and Charlotte is this woman, Catherine de Bourgh. I don't know if that's how you say her name, but anyways, Catherine de Bourgh is also Mr. Darcy's aunt. And so Mr. Darcy and his cousin, Colonel Fitzwilliam, end up coming to visit, and they keep coming and stopping in to see Lizzie and Charlotte's younger sister. They're like, why does he keep coming? That's so random. Like, that's so weird. He just sits there and is quiet. Like, what's going on? And I'm like, Lizzie would not survive in this, like, Delulu era. Like, she has not a Delulu cell in her body. Like, girly, he's in love with you. Anyways, that's my little update. Darcy really starts out so strong. Like, he really opened up with, "In vain have I struggled, it will not do. My feelings will not be repressed. You must allow me to tell you how ardently I admire and love you." And then he goes on to say, like, the most egregious things about her and her family. And then he's like, so are you gonna marry me? You're joking. That's actually so funny. And she's like, no. But what about this made you think I was going to? Guys. This is so good. This is so good. I don't know if you've ever seen that post that's like, it's talking about different like female writers from like this time period, and it was basically talking about how like Jane Austen, the male protagonist, will always like, it's kind of like he will fix himself if he's in love. I can't wait, because this man requires a little bit of work and fixing, because what a way to propose, truly. Okay, guys, unsurprisingly, on day 3 of a 24-hour readathon, I have about 10 hours left, as you guys saw, and I started volume 3, and wow, Lydia's just so messy and so rude for getting in the middle of Darcy and Lizzie like getting to know each other better and kind of reconciling a little bit. Like she was already annoying, but now she's just like more so. I'm not even gonna lie, last night I thought I would be like dreaming in Old English because I was just like so in this book yesterday. I did not, if you were curious. But yeah, anyways, I am on 282 and this book is 369 pages, so maybe I'll get through this book today. We'll see. I do want to start another book in this vlog. Okay guys, welcome to the end of the video. So basically the timer ran out and it was like 12 p.m. I was not gonna film an outro at that time. So here I am in voiceover form. So first let's start with my thoughts on Pride and Prejudice. I absolutely love this book and it genuinely made me want to read all of Jane Austen's books because it was just so approachable in terms of writing and just such a shock. I know I started this video saying that, but I'm ending it with that exact same feeling. And I really like that this book felt a little bit more like meandering through Lizzie's life. So it felt a little bit more like literary fiction than reading as a very strong romance book. And you know what? I think even though going in I thought this was very strictly going to be a romance, I really enjoyed it, surprisingly. I think the author was able to capture characters really well and really infuse emotion into the character's speech. As a reader, it's really easy to fall into the headspace of the character and understand how they feel without it being very overt or explicitly said. And I think the story read very fast-paced, which I also think helped me enjoy it because we never feel like we're stuck in a scene or in a plot point for very long. Like, it never felt like it was stagnating, and I think that 100% contributed to me flying through this book much faster than I would have another classic. Love. So I think I'm going to give it a very solid 4 stars, and I cannot wait to watch the movie and the miniseries. Okay. And then, as you can see in this clip right here, I started the 3rd book in the Bromance book club series. So this one is following the hacker and a cafe owner that we get introduced to in the previous 2 books. And oh my gosh, guys. They're like best friends and then they just develop into more, and that was so beautiful to see. And randomly, this was just like my favorite book of the 3 I've read so far because we just get a lot more emotional weight and just more complex family dynamics between the main characters and their families. But I felt like even though they had complex family dynamics, it didn't really take away from them forming their bond romantically. And it was just, the author handled it really, really well. You know, sometimes I feel like you can read books like that where the author tries to add in some more external circumstances that are happening in both the characters' lives, and then that kind of takes away from the romance, I feel like. But this was just so well balanced and lovely. So I'm gonna give this book 4.5 stars. So I hope to see you in the next video, and if you've made it this far, thank you so much for listening to me ramble. It is so kind of you. And I hope you enjoyed this very discombobulated 24-hour readathon. Bye guys!